Hi, this is a talk that I gave to the LINK Women's Network group in Kingsville on February 21st, 2023. And I called it Relational Self-Awareness. Who am I bringing to my relationship? So if you follow my podcast or have been to one of my workshops or programs, you know that I'm all about awareness. That's where it all starts for me. So today, I'm going to talk about awareness from a little bit of a different perspective, relational self-awareness. Who am I bringing to my relationship? So those of you who are listening, we're all at very different points in our relationship. Some people are looking to be in an intimate relationship. Some people are in a long-term relationship. Some people are not interested in being in an intimate relationship. Some people may be on their second, third, fourth, whatever relationship. But really, it's all about relationships. So when we think about being in business as business women, we know that business is not just about having a great system in place, having standard operating procedures, having a good mission statement, having great employees. It's really about us, because who is it that we bring to our business? And if our primary relationship is not going well, probably we're not going to bring a great person to our business either. So it's really important that our primary relationship is on solid ground. And we already know that there's research into healthy relationships that when we're in a healthy relationship, we actually live 6 or 7 years longer because of that healthy relationship. So the research is there. The jury is in terms of how important it is to be in healthy relationships. All right, so I am going to, first of all, take you through a meditation. Just to kind of get you focused on what you're doing. You can skip ahead on this one, but just to get your focus on what I'm going to talk about for the next 15 minutes, and also to kind of get you grounded. And because it's visual, I know that you're probably sitting somewhere and you're not driving. So just kind of begin by relaxing your body, taking a deep breath, noticing how you're sitting, being present to how your body is feeling. With your eyes closed, if you're comfortable, just kind of scan your body and just notice where the tension is and release the tension. Spend a little bit of time scanning your body, letting go of any tension that may be there. Then notice any emotions that are roaming around your body. Where do you feel them? In your chest, in your stomach? Is the tension that you're feeling about anxiety? Just notice what emotions are there. And then finally, what thoughts are roaming through your head? That stream of consciousness that is ongoing. Just notice the thoughts and let them go. So the tension in your body, the emotions you're feeling, the thoughts in your head, you can let all of them go. They will come back because they are very persistent if they need to. If they need your attention, don't worry. They will be back when we are finished. So breathing deeply, just let go of anything that is in the way of you being 100% present to this program. So when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Okay, so the thing about relational self-awareness is that it's about you, not the other person. When I work with clients that are in relationship transition, I often ask them to make a list of the characteristics and qualities that they want or that they're looking for in the other person. But before I even ask them to do that list, we do a lot of self-awareness work, really looking at who they are bringing to the relationship, looking at becoming more aware of their own beliefs, their own underlying, the logic that's underneath in an unconscious way. We bring those things up because those can be barriers to being in a relationship that you're looking for. You may have this vision of a relationship, but actually you may be the barrier to being in that relationship. So it's really about being curious about your beliefs and being aware of who you're bringing to the relationship. So let's first of all look at the definition of awareness. What is awareness? We all think about, well, I'm pretty aware. I know what's going on around me. But let's just have a little look at it here. So awareness is about knowledge and understanding that something is happening or exists. By using our senses, our ways of knowing, our body, mind, and heart, our memory, our imagination, and our intuition. We use our whole being. So our physical senses as well as our intuitive senses. And another way of talking about awareness is that it's waking up to what is going on around us and within us. So I just want you to think for a minute, have you ever driven somewhere and you got there and you said, oh my goodness, did I go through a red light? Did I stop at that stop sign on the way here? So even though we think we're aware, we often miss what's going on. Now that's a pretty stark example. I've done it. We all get to where we're going safely for the most part. But that's an example of not being aware. So if I'm not aware when I'm driving, am I really present and aware every moment of my life? A lot of writers, particularly in the spirituality realm, as well as in other realms, talk about being asleep. Tony DeMello, in his book, Sadhana, talks about the fact that often when we're born, we're sleeping. When we as we go through life, we get married, we have children, we have sex, we work, we sleep, and we die asleep. It's like we're not aware of what's really going on around us. Here's a quote from Beatrice Chestnut in the Enneagram Guide to Waking Up. Awakening to our true self and moving toward this greater consciousness requires an enormous amount of intentional effort. We must become aware of our zombie-like state and then actively work against it in order to rise above it. So I love the fact that she talks about it in terms of a zombie-like state. It's just another way of saying that we're asleep. So it's really about waking up and paying attention. So what is then relational self-awareness? So recently I did a podcast and I reviewed 5 books with the relationship coach, John Sullivan. And one of the books was called Loving Bravely by Alexandra Solomon. And she talked about relational awareness. So that's what prompted me to really look at awareness from a little bit of a different lens. So what she says about relational awareness is this: being in an intimate way with someone else must start from within. It must come from a deep and courageous relationship with yourself. Loving somebody else requires us to be courageous, vulnerable, and real. And you cannot be real with someone else unless and until you can be real with yourself. So today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what I call my awareness, beliefs, and curiosity cycle. So this cycle, I call it a cycle. In fact, it's not really a cycle and it's not really linear. It is pretty dynamic. But just for the sake of talking about it, I'm going to go around the Venn diagram from awareness to beliefs to curiosity and talk about what is needed when we are looking at relational self-awareness. So as I said before, awareness is not just about my thinking. It's about my senses, my emotions, my imagination, my memory, my intuition. And sometimes we go through our day and we just don't notice things. Here's an example. Recently, I took my mom out, my mom and my aunt, and we stopped at a kitchen store. And I just wasn't paying too much attention until all of a sudden I started to watch the two of them. They were having so much fun. They were looking at everything and walking around the store, and they'd pick something up and they'd call her, Crystal, look at this, or look at this. And they were showing one another things. And what I became aware of was that my mom had not been shopping for 3 years because of the pandemic. And I thought, it hadn't even crossed my mind until that moment. And I started to pay attention to what was happening. So I thought, okay, I need to get her out more so that she sees some things that are out there. She's not a shopper, but she just likes to look at things. So there was kind of this moment of awareness. So for me, it was about, I was awake And then the action was, okay, what can I do there? Now, we want to just pay attention to and be awake to what is happening around us. That's really the first step of awareness. The second step is, what do I pay attention to and what do I notice? So in that example, I noticed my mother engaged in something that, seemed like a pretty ordinary event, but it really took me aback. And I thought, okay, I need to pay attention to that. And so waking up and being attentive is not a passive activity. It is an active, we have to be in action in order to be awake and attentive. So, I mean, being asleep to what's going on, being unaware, that's a passive activity. And life is not about being passive. It's about really being in action. So in terms of then attunement, attunement is really about then beginning to notice patterns. And patterns are really important because we live in patterns. We tend to fall into habits and we do things a certain way. And it's beginning to notice, okay, what are the patterns in my life? So in terms of attunement, it's important to ask, is the way that I'm being, my attention or lack thereof, consistent with my deepest desires? And am I living out of my ego or out of my essence? Now, even though curiosity is like the third circle in my Venn diagram, curiosity here is very important because at any moment, it's very easy to judge myself. And judgment just shuts me down. So I want to keep a stance of curiosity in this realm of awareness. So then we move to beliefs. So in beliefs, we have blind spots, barriers, and breakthroughs. Now, as we pay attention and we become attuned to our inner world, we begin to uncover beliefs. Now, we have created beliefs. We created beliefs from our early childhood by looking around in our world. And who did we see as children? Probably a mom, a dad, maybe some siblings, maybe some grandparents. And we looked around the world and thought, how do I get my needs met? So we created our own belief system. Sometimes it's called mistaken logic because we make those beliefs at a time when we only have a small view of the world. They become unconscious and we carry those beliefs into adulthood. And so if you think about it, as adults, we're operating from a belief system we created when we were 5, 6, 7 years old. So it's really important to begin to uncover those beliefs. And they can be blind spots because we automatically act out of those unconscious beliefs. So we want to pay attention and ask the question, what do I believe about relationships, about men, about women, about sexuality, about gender, about intimacy, about soulmates, about marriage, about divorce, body image, etc., etc., etc. All of those things that impact my relationship. What do I believe about those? Am I just operating out of some unconscious beliefs that I have? So the question is, have I stopped to ask, are these beliefs really what I believe? Or have I just bought into them lock, stock, and barrel without question? So think about what your beliefs are about. For example, soulmates. Where did that belief come from? Is it consistent with who I am? Do I need to change it? Because remember, you created your belief system in the first place. You can create a new belief system. So here's an example of a belief system that I had for many years until probably in my 40s when I was doing my master's in counseling psychology. When I was in grade 3, I had to do this little essay. And I went home, had no idea what I was supposed to do. So I just did, I don't know what I did. But anyway, I got 0. And the teacher read the marks out loud. And I can remember being red and hot and sweaty. I was in grade 3. How old was I? Like 9? At that moment, my belief was I must be stupid. Well, that became an unconscious belief that I carried around for years, tried to prove I was smart by taking degrees and doing courses and doing programs, et cetera, until I realized, oh my God, that is really not a belief. That's a stupid belief. And so I had to change that belief in order to keep it from being a barrier in my life. So as we uncover our beliefs and our blind spots, we begin to have choices and we experience breakthroughs. And a breakthrough is when we get behind our ego and into our true essence. Okay, now the next thing is when we have awareness and beliefs intersecting, what we have is we begin to be more authentic. We begin to be more in tune with ourselves. So when we're more in tune with ourselves, we're going to bring that authentic self into our relationship. Now, I hate to break the news to you, but none of us really live authentic lives. We live from our personalities, which, as the root of the word personality means, mask. Persona means a mask. We create our personalities when we're very young to protect ourselves from being hurt, from being ignored, from feeling unworthy, for all kinds of reasons. And so we have this great personality. But behind the personality is our true essence. And so we want to get behind our personality. Now, if I'm awake and aware, I can do that. Otherwise, I'm living in a masquerade. And I mean, I'm actually quite good at that, as I imagine many of you are. So an example, my personality tends to avoid pain. So I will do whatever I need to do to distract myself from feeling pain if I'm not aware. When I'm aware, I know that feeling pain really, it helps me to really get in touch with my essence, and it helps me to be vulnerable. And that's a good thing, because that is really who I am. So I have to really be aware of that part of my personality, that I have to work with that. Now, don't get me wrong, we need to develop our personalities. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. And here again is where curiosity is important, because there's no judgment. It's like, some personalities are easier to get along with others. If yours isn't, it doesn't matter. It's your personality. It is developed to protect you. But when we are aware and we start to uncover our beliefs, we can begin to work with our personality in a different way. Now, here's a little exercise I want to give you that starts to relate awareness and beliefs to your relationship. I want you to do, or I suggest that you do a relationship lifeline. So you just get a big piece of paper, and whatever relationship you're in, maybe it's a 2-year, 3-year, 40-year, whatever it is, just beginning and ending, and then just kind of write the highlights, the lowlights, the crises, whatever, and just kind of see what are the patterns, the blind spots, the beliefs that have been operating throughout that relationship. It's a great exercise to raise your awareness about your relationship. So now we move to curiosity. Now, although curiosity, as I said, is in the third circle of my Venn diagram, curiosity needs to move around the circle at all times. Because what happens is, the other side of curiosity is judgment. And what happens when we make a judgment? Our brain just shuts down. It's like, okay, that's the end. Okay, I've made a judgment. My brain just says, okay, full stop, done. No more questions, move on. What's next? Your brain stops moving you forward. However, if you are curious, your brain will continue to work to find answers to the questions that come out of your curiosity. So if I see some food on my plate and I think, oh, I don't like that, my brain just shuts down, doesn't even notice it anymore, and goes off to the next food. If I say, well, isn't that interesting? I've never had that before. I think I'm going to have a taste of that. Your brain stays open. Now, you may or may not like it, but the fact is you're able to move forward with your curiosity. Now, sometimes we do need to trust our intuition in terms of our gut reactions where we make a judgment. Sometimes we have to do that. For example, I know that some people who have allergies, their body just says, I can't eat that. And it's because their body just says, no, that's bad for me, which is actually a good thing to trust. And that you do need to trust that if your body is saying, no, I cannot eat that. So, but sometimes we do have to question, and we do have to let our curiosity come out about that. So back to curiosity. When we are curious, our brain will work to find new answers. And if we're being curious, our brain will continue to work with us. So that food on my plate that I'm curious about, that I tasted, I'm open to that. Okay, so with curiosity, we have create, curate, and cultivate. So create is, remember I said that we created our beliefs when we were children. Well, we can't, or we adapted beliefs. You know, we certainly created our own little beliefs, but as we grew up, we also took beliefs from outside of ourselves, whether it was from our community, from church, from our peers, our culture, whatever it was, we also appropriated those beliefs. So all of that, now it's been created by us. We can actually create a new system of beliefs for ourselves. So for example, as a kid, I may have decided that men are more successful than women. Now, that doesn't work for me now. So I have new evidence that says women are as successful as men, and sometimes more successful than men. That's a new belief that serves me, because the old belief did not. So there are relationships. There are beliefs that you bring into your relationship about commitment, soulmate, intimacy, sex, gender, communication. What are they? And you can create new beliefs about all of those things about relationships. You can also create new expectations for yourself. It really demands that you're radically honest with yourself when you create these new beliefs. Now, curate means, so if I'm curating an art collection, I'm going to pick out the ones that really appeal to me so that I have this collection. Now, curating your beliefs simply means that you can select and organize your new beliefs, the ones that resonate with your deepest desires. And it takes a deep awareness of your essence to know what resonates with you. And you want to try them out, and you want to check them out. And you may even want to talk to other people about it just to see how they resonate with you when you're talking about them. And then finally, cultivate. And cultivate is about nurturing your new beliefs and practicing, creating new habits, deepening your awareness, and celebrating these new beliefs. All right. Now, when we have curiosity and beliefs coming together, what happens is our boundaries are affected. So we create, we curate, we cultivate. We have a new belief system, and our boundaries start to shift and change. We may be more open with our emotions, or maybe we're more protective of our emotions. Maybe we're suddenly more adventurous. Maybe we're more spontaneous, or maybe we're more cautious. Just be aware that your boundaries may shift and change, which will affect your relationship. Then we look at awareness and curiosity, and this is where we become more connected. As our awareness grows, we look at our belief system and we're curious. And if we're really being radically honest, then we become more connected in our relationship. And this is where relational self-awareness, who are we bringing to this relationship? So we will be more connected with some people and maybe less connected with others. And this is kind of related to boundaries as well. So as you curiously become more aware of yourself, your beliefs, your patterns of behavior, your blind spots, you begin to bring your best self into your relationship. This is not a journey for the faint of heart. It takes work, intention, desire, and commitment. And as you are bringing your authentic self with healthy boundaries, connected to the relationship, sometimes this shifts the relationship in different ways. Sometimes you will need to rethink your relationship with this new relational self-awareness. So awareness is really the key. Who you bring into your relationship is your work to figure out. Then your partner has a chance to step up to the plate as well. You are responsible for your self-awareness, and your partner is responsible for their self-awareness. And then together you can create an amazing relationship. But be compassionate with yourself and don't judge yourself. Be gentle and open to going deeper and growing a stronger, loving relationship, starting with yourself.